What's up everybody? My name is Jesse Hayward and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about how to become a Certified Anesthesiologist Assistant. Now before we get into the video, I do want to say that I am not a Certified Anesthesiologist Assistant. I'm not even a student. I'm still a pre-CAA, so I haven't gotten into school yet. I'm currently in the application cycle, so I want to say that any views that I express, anything that I'm talking about is coming from the perspective of someone who has not entered into being a student anesthesiologist assistant. So keep that in mind as I talk to you guys about this awesome profession that I'm super excited to talk to you guys about today. So first things first, I'm talking about Certified Anesthesiologist Assistant. What is a CAA? Now either I can tell you in my own words or I can take what the Quad A, which is our national organization, defines CAA as. I'll tell you guys what that is here. Certified Anesthesiologist Assistants, or CAAs for short, are highly skilled health professionals who work under the direction of licensed anesthesiologists to implement anesthesia care plans. CAAs work exclusively within the anesthesia care team environment as described by the American Society of Anesthesiologists, or ASA for short. So there's a lot in here to unpack. If you're not familiar with the realm of anesthesia, there's a lot here that might be intimidating, that might sound big and very different. I'm here to break it down for all you guys. So what's the difference between an anesthesiologist and a Certified Anesthesiologist Assistant? Well, it's kind of in the name, but anesthesiologist assistants work in the anesthesia care team. The anesthesia care team is going to be composed of one anesthesiologist, that's an MD, that's a doctor, a physician, who is managing and supervising several different mid-level anesthetists, such as an anesthesiologist assistant. This means that CAAs get to be in the operating room, administering anesthesia, coming up with anesthesia care plans, monitoring the patient, doing everything that goes into making sure that the anesthesia care team is well functioning and that the patient is safe in the operating room. Now, a lot of you probably know what a CRNA is, or a Certified Registered Nurse Anesthetist. CRNAs are going to be very similar to CAAs in terms of they are going to be the ones administering the anesthesia, monitoring the patient. The big difference is going to be that CRNAs take a nursing route. They go through nursing school, they become an RN, and then they apply to CRNA school. They have to spend a certain amount of time in the ICU. Whereas CAAs have more of a medical background. They take the MCAT or the GRE, they study, they take pre-med classes, and you go into this program right out of college. It's a master's level program. So the education is going to be very different, but at the end of the day, the rules are going to be very similar. Anesthetists administering anesthesia to patients in the operating room. So why become a Certified Anesthesiologist Assistant? Why am I preaching to you guys that you guys should go out there and become CAAs? And there's a couple different reasons to become a CAA. There's a lot of draws and pros to the CAAs, but I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the cons as well. So I'm going to talk about both of those to you guys. So first of all, if you have a passion for medicine or anesthesia or the operating room or surgery, becoming a Certified Anesthesiologist Assistant might be right for you. Although different from medical school, the schooling to become a CAA is going to be very intensive. It's going to be very wide-reaching. You're going to learn a lot about medicine in general, especially as it applies to the operating room, to pharmacology, immunology, toxicology. There's so many different areas that go into medicine that the anesthesiologist assistant is going to be at the forefront of learning in school and also actually in the field, in the operating room. Another pro of becoming a Certified Anesthesiologist Assistant is the length of schooling. Becoming a doctor, a physician, an anesthesiologist, typically schooling for that is going to be 4 years, plus residency added on to that. So that's going to depend on if you do fellowship. When you become a Certified Anesthesiologist Assistant, when you go to school for that, you're going to school for 2.5 years to get a master's level degree. So if you are looking to get into the field sooner, CAAs is going to be the route for you because it's going to be 2.5 years of schooling as opposed to a lot longer schooling than you might have pursuing the MD route or the anesthesiologist route. You get to enter the field super soon. The opportunity cost is going to be very beneficial as a CAA. Also, if you have a passion for a challenge, definitely look at becoming a CAA because not only is it hard to work as an anesthesiologist assistant, there's going to be a lot of problems in the operating room that you have to be prepared to deal with, that you have to have a deep understanding of anesthesia in order to be able to manage the situation or an emergency properly. But also the schooling is getting more and more hard to get into. Even in the last couple of years, it's become so competitive to get into CAA school. A lot of my fellow prospective CAA students have shared with me their GPAs, their MCATs, their GREs, and it's a very competitive school to get into. And it's only going to go up from here. So if you enjoy a challenge and pushing yourself to your limit academically, definitely look at CAA. Another great aspect of becoming a CAA is the novelty in practice and the novelty in surgery. When I've shadowed anesthesiologists and anesthesiologist assistants, there's an incredible amount of variety to the cases that you get to work on in the operating room. Even as a CAA, you can specialize in cardiac. There's also pediatrics. Just in the cases that I got to see shadowing, I got to see everything from ENT, pediatrics, to orthopedics. There's so many different types of surgeries that you get to be a part of. So if you like doing something different, maybe every time you enter into the operating room, CAA is a great option for that. Also, the CAA profession is growing rapidly. In my instance, I hadn't heard of anesthesiologist assistant until just a couple of months ago. So it's very new. It's coming onto the scene very quickly here. As the profession gets to expand to work in more states and more schools open up, there's only going to be improvements from here that we see in the CAA profession. Lastly, I want to talk about the pay and the work-life balance. Working as an anesthesiologist assistant, you get to make a really good salary straight out of school. Typically, you're going to see salaries hovering around $175K a year to around $200K a year. That's typically going to be for a new grad, and that's going to come with a lot of benefits such as paid time off. It's also going to come with really generous overtime rates. There's a lot as far as the pay goes that makes becoming a CAA very desirable as a profession. There's a lot of careers where you might be making a lot of money, but you're spending a lot of time either at work, doing work away from work, like when you're at home. The nice thing about being a CAA is that the work that you're doing typically is just going to be while you are there on your shift at the hospital. A lot of these positions that are making the salaries that I talked about earlier are going to be for a 40-hour work week. I've even seen some for 36-hour work weeks. So you get to enjoy your life outside of work while also being able to have a high income potential at work. That's some of the reasons why becoming a CAA has become so desirable in recent years. Now, like I mentioned earlier, becoming a CAA is not for everyone, so I do want to mention some of the reasons why becoming a CAA might not be right for you. The first thing, and to me the biggest thing, is that you are not becoming a doctor. There's not going to be a doctor in front of your name. A lot of people, when they're looking to go into the medical field, they're wanting to become a doctor, they're wanting to have the MD at the end of their name, the DO at the end of their name. I'd be lying if I told you it wasn't desirable to have an MD at the end of your name. So know that when you're getting into the CAA profession, you're not doing it for the title. You're doing it, at least in my case, because you love medicine, you love anesthesia. Another reason why CAA might not be for everybody is that it's hard and competitive. Like I mentioned earlier, it's getting harder and harder every year to get into CAA programs. Even though more are opening up, the standards, the MCATs, the GREs, and the GPAs are all getting higher and higher. And on the line of school, you are going to school for 2.5 years at a master's level program. There is going to be debt that comes with that. If you're okay with that, I definitely think CAA is right for you. But if debt is something that you're worried about, if you don't want to continue going to school, that's definitely something to look more into. Now, although there is debt going into a CAA program, you have a really big shovel to dig yourself out of that debt with the income potential that you have once you graduate. Now, lastly, I want to say that because CAA is such a new position, not all states have legislation that allows CAAs to practice. The states that CAAs can work in include states like Florida, Colorado, Georgia, Ohio, Wisconsin, Texas, New Mexico. I believe there's around 22, 23 states that have legislation for CAAs to practice. However, that's expanding very quickly. We recently saw Washington open up as a state that CAAs can practice in. This just happened super recently. So this goes into the rapid growth of the profession. However, if you want to live in a place like California or New York or a state that doesn't allow CAAs to practice yet, then you might want to look at another route to become an anesthetist, possibly CRNA. I believe right now CRNAs can practice in every state. So now that you guys know about what a CAA is, about the pros and the cons, I want to talk about how I discovered CAA, because I didn't always think I was going to want to become a certified anesthesiologist assistant. When I first went to college, I was in sport and exercise science, and I was pursuing a degree in exercise physiology. And that's kind of where I figured out that I really loved science, I loved biomechanics, I loved anatomy, I loved physiology. All those things really spoke to me, and when I took those prereqs for my exercise physiology degree, I was like, I really like this. And eventually, I got to work in a clinic, and I realized that I wanted to become a doctor, a physician. So for a couple of years, I really pursued that. I got ready for the MCAT, I got the shadow doctors, I basically immersed myself in medicine. And academically, I got to take all my prereqs and learn about what medicine is all about. And as my MCAT got closer, I found out about the Certified Anesthesiologist Assistant profession. I had been shadowing in the operating room. I'd seen the anesthesiologist, and I knew that that was something that I wanted to do. I had a passion for oncology. I was working in a cancer clinic, but I also had a passion for anesthesiology. It wasn't until this last year, my 5th year in college, that I realized that I wanted to become a certified anesthesiologist assistant. That was a hard decision for me to make because I had worked so hard for so many years to become a doctor, to go to medical school, to pursue that. It was hard to say, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to switch my path. I'm going to go in a new direction. I'm going to pursue something that's new that I don't entirely know about. And up to this point, it's been the most rewarding thing in my life, knowing that I have this passion that I have directed all my energy towards becoming a certified anesthesiologist assistant. And it's been so much fun so far getting to pursue that as a pre-CAA. So how did I know that being a CAA was right for me? What made it click for me when I was pursuing medicine? One of the big reasons why I liked anesthesia, I got to see anesthesia in the operating room as I was shadowing. And I love the procedural aspect of being a CAA. You get to perform procedures, there's regional anesthesia, you're administering drugs, you have to have an understanding of the pharmacology. There's a lot that you're doing with your hands. And I was working as a phlebotomist at this cancer rehabilitation institute. And as I was working there and learning how to draw blood and venipuncture and do all the things that go into being a phlebotomist, I realized I love this. This is fun. A work day can go by super quick when you're just doing procedures every day and it's kind of, you're clicking off, you're meeting with patients, you're interacting with other people at the clinic. I really enjoyed that, and it made my work not feel as much like work. So working with my hands, doing procedures was a big part of why I wanted to pursue a career in anesthesia. And I also had a passion for the operating room. When I got to shadow, the environment of the operating room, being with the surgery team, was super exhilarating. It's like the operating room is a place that's unlike any other that I've ever been to. It's so apart from everything else, and everything is exactly where it needs to be, all the instruments where they need to be, and everyone's in sync with each other. That's something that I really appreciate. And kind of speaking more into that too is working in a team. For 5 years, I've been on a track and field team. I've been in athletics, I've done basketball, and I love working with a team. I love trying to be a part of the reason why a team can succeed. And I believe that working within an anesthesia care team, you get to be a part of a very high level team, very specialized team, a group of individuals who have dedicated their life to healthcare. And you get to be a reason on why that team succeeds, on why a patient succeeds, how you can help a patient overcome everything that goes into a surgery. A surgery is taxing. You get to be a part of the solution for that patient and work within a team to get something really cool done. And it was around this year, a couple months ago, that I realized I wanted to be a certified anesthesiologist assistant. Stepped away from medicine. I didn't apply to medical school, and I went all in. I put my eggs in this basket, and right now I'm in the middle of this application cycle. In a future video, we're going to go over my application, talk about some of the things that I like, some of the things I wish I could have done to bolster my application. And that way, if you are interested in becoming a certified anesthesiologist assistant, you can kind of see what a general application might look like for a prospective student. Now, I haven't gotten into school yet. I don't know if I'm going to get into school. It's super competitive, but I know that just by putting these videos out, I can spread the word of what a CAA is. And hopefully you all can find if this is right for you through these videos. Thank you guys so much for watching. We're gonna go over more in future videos on more about anesthesia, more about the CAA profession. We're gonna talk about phlebotomy. We're gonna talk about medicine, applications, everything like that. Lots of plans as far as showing you guys the world of medicine from the lens of a prospective certified anesthesiologist assistant student. Again, thank you guys for watching. Go down there and drop a like, drop a comment, subscribe. It really helps my channel. I want to keep making these videos, talking to you guys about why I love the prospect of becoming a CAA so much. So go down there, help me out, help this channel get off the ground, and we will see you guys in the next video talking more about anesthesia and phlebotomy. Thank you guys for watching. Bye-bye.